girl's grandfather, who's a very good friend of mine. This is when the kids were down in their house. They had just downloaded these pictures onto their computer and showed them mine. I was there approximately 20 minutes after the sighting occurred. I live only 5 minutes away. I talked with the girls right after it happened and was able to see the 4 pictures immediately after they were downloaded from the digital camera onto the computer in their living room. The images are incredible, amazing in content, clarity, and detail. No outline of the craft can be discerned. There is much valuable information contained and revealed in close examination of the 4 pictures. The adult mother and her 2 kids who filed a report on their behalf, and the mother was not part of the sighting, was in the house at the time of the sighting at approximately 9 o'clock. 2 of the 4 pictures show 4 very bright lights, slightly varying in intensity. 3 other lights in a triangle, outer lights in a triangle, 1 light in the center, and the 3rd picture is turned off. In each of the 3 pics, 1 outer light has a distinct greenish hue, while the rest are more white or whitish blue. From the relative position of the orientation of the greenish light in each successive picture, it can be seen and determined that the craft was slowly turning or revolving while it was hovering above the girls' heads. The kids estimated it was right above treetop level. The trees are about 50 feet, so we determined it's between 50 and 100 feet. It was rotating at a rate of approximately 360 degrees in 75 seconds, or perhaps at some multiple of that rate. The 4th picture shows 2 very bright light trails, one with a much tighter circle or curvature than the other. The distance between the lights is about 1.6 times the distance between the lights in the other pictures, suggesting the craft was much closer to them than the initial pics. Whether it is alien or military or nature, that remains to be seen, but the report is true and there's no way a hoax, an attention-getting scheme. I can assure you at this point they do not want the attention, but rather would like to go on with their lives and school in normalcy. I've just spoken, he felt compelled to contact us a 2nd time. I've just spoken with the young lady, 14, who snapped the 4 pictures. She says, as all 3 girls have said from the start right after it happened, the whole episode from the first, noticing the lights on the ground in the backyard beside the pool, then looking up and seeing the bright lights right above their heads, then taking the 4 pictures till it streaked off behind the trees, leaving bright trails behind for a second or 2. It all lasted a matter of seconds, maybe 15, maybe 20 seconds at most, with the 4 pictures being snapped in a rapid succession. Her description of the event: they saw the light on the ground like a spotlight lit up the area. They stopped, looked up, saw the bright lights over their heads, not directly above them, but more to the side near the trees around the clearing. The visiting neighbor's child exclaimed, "What is it?" Then she said to her younger sister, 11, who had the camera in her hand, "Give me the camera." She pointed it up to the light and took the first picture. Waiting between each click is approximately 2 seconds for each image to appear on the LCD screen. Then another click again, waited long enough for the image to appear, then a final click. And then it was gone, shot off to the north, leaving behind white or bright streaks or trails of light, perhaps not actual streaks or trails in the sky, but rather just in the eye, as a very bright light source would do to your vision. So anyway, a total of maybe 10 seconds from first to last picture. Okay, well, like any other digital camera or camcorder today, I put a date and time stamp on every picture, along with a lot of other information, the settings, the camera mode, etc. Exposure, focal length, zoom settings, so on and so forth. Now, where's all this leading? You may already guess it. In the first picture, the actual time stamp reading was taken at 8:53:24. The next, 8:53:59. The third, 8:55. The fourth, 8:55:31. So that's about a half a minute between pictures 1 and 2, then a full minute lapse until picture 3, then another half minute until picture 4, with a total of 2 minutes, 7 seconds between picture 1 and 4. That's a far cry from the 10 or 15 seconds as remembered by all 3 girls. The timestamps from the chip and the camera don't lie, but neither are the girls. They all agree it had happened in a few seconds, not 2 or 3 minutes, which, by the way, would have probably seemed like an eternity to anyone staring at a UFO. But they were there, and that's how they remember it. It'd be pretty hard for anyone to mistake 2 or 3 minutes for 15 or 20 seconds or vice versa. So where lies the answer to this? Perhaps an actual time loss, as has been reported in other instances of close encounter or abductions. I see no other explanation. Did time stand still for them? They basically lost about 2 minutes, unaccounted for by minutes. Time, they say, didn't elapse, but from indications and recording of the camera, it did. The picture on the bottom left and the picture in the Belgian UFO wave back in the 1980s. I think everybody can see a correlation between those two. And there's the two side by side. We think that, myself and Don, we sent this off to MUFON to be analyzed. We're still waiting on an explanation to exactly what the experts think it is. We looked around the house out there with these kids. We went with the mom. She was outside studying on the porch. Like I said, she was a nursing student. I got to tell you, I believe this lady. I really do. The kids were in school when Don and I went out there. That would have been the third trip for Don. We looked over the property, we looked at the pictures, we looked around the house, we looked around the neighborhood, we looked for anything that could have been a light source where the kids could have took some light bulbs and strung them together to make this look like this. The moms said the kids were near hysterical when they came in the house, and they instantly showed her the pictures. They just got the camera. So if it's a hoax, they did a pretty dang good job. We think that the brighter light versus the smaller light is because the object is cocked. That's what makes this light, these lights a little bit closer to the subject of the camera. 100 feet above mountainous terrain with towers everywhere, trees, pitch black of night. If that was a helicopter, an airplane, an ultralight, a balloon, you know, they took a very, very, very serious risk of crashing into something. It's also near a military base. It's near an airport, and it's not very far from Camp David. Camp David is a highly restricted airspace. This was about 10 miles to the southwest of Camp David. It wasn't active. The president wasn't in town at the time. When it did streak off, they heard a whooshing sound. And what gets me is, look, my question is, and with Don, we talked about this over lunch and for a good while. You know, if I were to host this today, well, how would I do it? How could I host something like that? Don agreed. We feel with confidence this is about an 85 to 90% actual sighting. The light is what caught the kids' attention. It was shining down in the yard. I have some pictures of the yard. They saw the light and then walked up. It wasn't very far from them at all. I wonder what would have happened if the light would have hit them. Here's the backyard. The swimming pool's right over this area. The backyard's maybe 100 foot by 100 foot. There's trees everywhere. What I noticed, for what it's worth, is these antennas around the house. There's one here and one here. There's no other on the block. The dad was a ham radio operator. The antennas and the radio equipment did not work. It has not been working. It got struck by lightning a couple of years ago and hasn't worked since. This is the cellar doors. The kids were going down. The light was right about in this area. The swimming pool's off to our right. Another array of antennas on top of the house. There's Tom Gordon, the state director, walking the property off. We advise the mom and the kids, you know, to keep an eye out on if there's any vegetation, changing colors, any weird things with the dogs or cats that they have, if they're avoiding any areas. We did not take any soil samples. We did not take any vegetation samples. When I went out there, it was a couple of weeks after the event. There was no type of magnetic readings. The compass worked correctly when we paced around the yard. But right back in here is a ditch, and then there's a huge tree line, and then a mountain behind that. And there's the They were standing right about where we're looking at this from, and the light was right in this backyard, right next to them. That case is still open. Don's still working on that to try to get some even more information, and the MUFON professional camera folks are working on it now. We have heard that it's an obvious fake, it's an obvious hoax, all the way to it's aircraft